Welcome back to Better Bear Hunting. I'm glad you guys are with us. We're going to be taking this FX pin snare out and we're going to be doing some plinking. Now, we're going to practice for a couple of upcoming matches, and I'm going to record everything through this trigger cam, and we're going to be using this Apex Rival. So I'll give you guys a view through the scope as I'm seeing it, and I'll have my phone set up to the side so you guys can watch me shoot, and I'll try and show you guys how I position myself when I'm shooting off of certain props, and also kind of explain why I stand the way I do, or why I position myself the way I do on certain props. And there's usually a reason, whether you're loading a rifle or whether you're trying to take some human error out of it, and trying to let the gun do more of the work. But I'm going to try and go over some of that stuff. I'm also going to go over some of the gear that I use with this gun, and I'm going to go over why it's set up the way it is. Now, whether when I go out there and and start shooting, whether I remember to do everything as I'm explaining it right now, that's a whole different story. But right now, that's how I'm going to aim to do it. But I'm going to go over this new rail that we built, and I'm also going to go over this little guy right here, this barricade stop that I designed. It also has a second function to it, and I think you guys will be excited to see what it is. I do have quite a few of these, so if you guys decide you want one, just let me know, and I'll see how about getting one to you. Now, the way we're going to be shooting between 20 yards and probably 200 yards. And the reason I like to pick a distance, whether it be 20, 30, 35 yards, like the reason I like to pick one of those distances, and practice it, is because between your muzzle and your zero, you're going to have a lot of stuff going on. That bullet's going to come up and it's going to drop back down, so you're going to have holdovers, hold unders, and a whole nother zero in there. So if you don't know what's going on, it can be the difference of a hit or a miss. And a lot of times when you're engaging targets that are closer than your zero, they're going to be a lot smaller. So shooting something, as narrow as a 16 penny nail, at 25 yards, it can be challenging. And the other part of that is you have to have a scope that will allow you to engage targets that are closer than your zero. Now, this Apex Rival, it will allow me to do about a half a mil hold negative, and also, it will allow me to do about a half a mil, dial down below my zero on the zero stop. And it'll also allow me a -1 mil hold on the reticle. And the biggest part of that is your parallax. You have to have a scope that will allow you to parallax and focus in on targets that are closer. If you don't have a scope that will allow you to parallax down as low as, if you don't have a scope that will allow you to parallax to your closest target, you're going to have a very, very hard time engaging it properly, especially if it's out of focus. And the other side of that is, if it's a very small target, you may not even be able to focus down enough to even see where it's at. It may just blend into the background, which will make it impossible unless you're really lucky at just getting a shot off. So that's another thing you think about. You can't just pick up a scope and run with it, because not all of them will parallax down very low. And in these mass directors now, they're getting pretty tricky, where they throw them out there to catch, and I will say they will catch a lot of people off guard doing that, because those people are used to shooting 50 yards, 80 yards, 100 yards, 150 yards, but it's the very close ones, that will eat them alive. So that's one thing to think about. Make sure you definitely pay attention to that, and if you are doing this kind of shooting, or any type of shooting that you do, make sure that you practice for the closest targets and the farthest targets away that you could possibly shoot at. That way exactly what to do. And the other part of that is if you're going to be shooting positional, you want to practice positional. If you're going to be shooting bench rest, you want to practice bench rest. There's so many people, that they might shoot positional like I do, but all the practices that they do, you know, is bench rest. Like they go out, you know, and they're shooting distance, you know, with their gun, you know, off a bench, and they're never practicing trigger control, you know, when that, you know, when you're set up on a tree or a 6x6 or a ladder, you know, like they're never practicing themselves in that scenario. And that's one thing you really need to practice on. And the other part of that is get yourself a good level. I run a Send-It level, and it's very good. It allows me to make sure that my gun's completely level every time I take a shot. And what you'll run into, you'll see a lot of levels being advertised. And I'm gonna tell you, if you're buying a cheap level that mounts on your scope, you're doing yourself an injustice, because they're gonna be inaccurate. You wanna make sure you get something that's accurate, because a tiny bit makes a huge difference as you start stretching out. You may not notice at 50 yards, you may not notice at 100 yards, but I promise you, as you get out, you know, to distance, 200 yards, 300 yards, 400 yards, you're gonna see shotgun patterns, you know, when that level ain't right, or when you're not holding that gun the exact same way. If you're shooting off a bench with a monopod in the back and a fixed bipod up front, your gun's not gonna be able to, you know, do this, you know. So you're already benefiting, but you know if you have a pivoting bipod and you don't have something nice and flat in the back, you know, that you can sit on, you know, to make sure that your gun sits the exact same way every time you pull the trigger, you're gonna notice bad groupings, and you're probably gonna blame the gun. 99% of the time, it's probably gonna be the shooter. You know, whether I say 99%, it's probably gonna be a lot less than that, because I mean, it definitely does come down to how you have the gun tuned, and you know, whether it likes the projectile. But I mean, if you got that combination right, then I mean, the odds of those shotgun patterns being user error are way up there. But anyways, I'll get off that high horse, and I will say that we're gonna go out and have some fun here in a little bit, and that's really about it. I think that's about all I got. So anyways, I'm gonna pack this stuff up, get in a truck, and we are gonna get to the range, and we'll see whether I make this a 1 video or a 2 video kind of day, and we'll go from there. See you soon. We're back now. We got the next prop set up. We got the ladder behind us. We're gonna shoot this next stage. We're gonna run 100 yards this way over to 56 yards behind us, and that's gonna allow us to swing across this field, probably a little over about 30 degrees, I'd imagine. And that's gonna bring that wind in a different direction. We're gonna have to compensate for or adjust our scope for as we do that. The wind's not that much today, so I probably won't really adjust for it, but it still allows me to put myself in a different position rather than, you know, doing rung to rung, moving around, and not having any kind of swing. We'll probably try and get this done in a pretty fast amount of time. We'll probably aim for about 1:30 is probably what we'll try and do. This 100 yards is gonna be pretty easy. We have the ladder kind of aimed towards it, but as we swing around, we're really gonna have to watch the barrel and do gun control as far as where this muzzle is, because we do have a leg going down on a diagonal, and we don't want to hit it, and we don't want to adjust our prop for you know, for our position, make it a little easy on us. But the one thing I do want to bring up on this one is I wanted to show you guys this thing we built here. This was the first thing this is the first thing I ever modeled, I ever printed, and this is a barricade stop for the Panthera. And I did this probably about 6-7 months ago. I wasted a lot of time contacting a few companies and hoping they would run with it and wanted to make some money on it and maybe push some business to them, but they didn't seem to, so that's all right. No big deal, but I did want to show you guys what it was. I do have probably 20 or 25 of them. If anybody's interested, just hit me up, whether on Facebook or YouTube, and I'll get you taken care of. But what we do here, we take this, we put our finger through the bottom. You see a little hole right here, and the mag pops right out. This thing, it won't shake out. The O-ring holds it in place, just like your regular mag, or you know, just like this, where your mag goes into the gun at. That O-ring holds it nice and snug. But you know, I don't have to worry about where my mag is. It just sits right in there and pop it in and out as I want. Nice and flush them out. It's a pretty slick little deal. You know, I don't have to worry where it's at. And if something happens in the mag I'm using, I know exactly where my second mag is ready to go. So that being said, let's go ahead and skip past the fun part and let's get back into the funner part. Get some shooting in. Like I said, we'll do 3 different runs here. We'll do 100, then 56 double. So we'll do 3 shots on the first one, 3 shots on the second one, and then on the fourth one we'll go back to the 100 for a 4th shot, and that'll be our 10 round there. Let me go ahead and set this thing up to record. All right, yep, I just shot this thing earlier and realized I forgot to hit the button on the trigger cam, so we are good to go now. And let's go. And we're ready. Let's go start it. Careful there. And that's it. The biggest thing with this is making sure you got good muzzle control. You know where your gun's going. You're not changing, you don't have to worry about a point of impact shift because you hit something wrong, or there's just so many things that can happen when you're swinging your gun around, so you just want to really pay attention to muzzle control while you're swinging for stages. You got quite a bit of stuff going on in your head, but anyways, the other thing about this send it level here is because I have this thing mounted vertical, I can shoot with both eyes open, and I can shadow these lights into the reticle. So I can watch my reticle with one eye, and I can watch this with the other eye, and I don't have to worry about taking my eye off the gun to be able to make sure that this gun's level before I take my shots. But anyways, I'm gonna go get some more stuff set up, and I'll call this video done for today. I'll probably make another one real quick, but anyways, I hope you guys learned something. Hope you guys enjoyed watching me shoot. Didn't get too annoyed with me talking, and get out and have some fun.